Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to be discussing the two ideas here where either we are looking for this direct push to the upside, in which case what we are saying is that within the smaller time frame here, we are looking at this as potentially a 1 and this is a 2 already completed, but we need to see price starting to push to the upside here. At the moment, we are not reacting in the way that I'd want to see, and we're going to go over this bullish count first. So effectively what we're saying within this is that we are looking for this as a wave 2, looking for support to come in here between this 50% and this 786. Now we have hit a rare target for a wave 2 already, which is this 382. So I'm just being mindful we could look to rally from this point. Confirmation would only come by actually having a push up towards this 41,888 though. So we need to just be respectful of that. Now it is also possible that we could still be within this wave 2, and there are a couple of options where we could still look at this as W, X, Y, X, and we have another Z wave to the downside where we could be looking for some of these lower levels. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on these zones if we do look to push down here between this 50%, which is sitting at this 27,919 to this 26,090 level. Now within this bullish case here, what we were arguing is that more locally we were looking for the potential here that this move is starting to extend to the upside. Now within this structure, what we were saying is that potentially we have this as 1 and 2. Now in validation of this is this 28,701, and what we were saying here is that potentially we could see some extension within this wave, because if this is actually going to be a 1-2, what we'd be saying is that we have another 1 and potentially a 2 here. Now if we are looking at this, we'd need to see at least a push above this 31,113 level, but I'd be ideally looking more towards this 32,704 for a confirmation to just give us more clarity within this count. Now within that secondary count, what we'd be saying here is that this move is potentially another 1 and 2. Now this is valid for as long as we hold this 28,701, and what we'd be looking for here is a move up towards 31,675 to confirm this. So until we actually break these lows here, we do have potential that we could still see this move look to push to the upside in a 5-wave structure, looking for this level, but it really needs to get going now because it is starting to look less likely the more time that actually passes here. Now the way we were looking at this previously, I've adjusted this because the only way that this actually makes sense anymore is that if we have a flat correction here. Now if this is the case, what we'd be saying is that we have this as 1, we have A, B and C as a wave 2, and then we'd be looking at this starting to build 5-wave structure to the upside here, looking to extend. Now the only way we'd get confirmation of this would be a move up past this 29,856, but we also need to be careful here because this could just be a corrective move to the upside, and we could then start to reject to the downside in a bigger way. So this is why this is a bit of a tricky count here. As long as we stay above this 29,102, potentially we could look to start building this 5-wave structure, and as long as we continue to set higher lows here, we can potentially look to build 1s and 2s where this becomes 1-2, get another 1-2 here, potentially even another 1-2, and then we start to push up through these levels. So going to be keeping an eye on this. The immediate target I'd be looking for would be this 29,856, but just like with our other target, because if we are looking at that potential of a flat, we could potentially look to target out this area here of this 2618. So we're going to keep an eye on this. If we do continue to hold this low here, which is sitting towards this zone of this 29,259, potentially we could start to see this rally to the upside. But like I said, we need to be respectful of this move to the downside here, and this could also still be incomplete. Now if we were looking for this potential here, what we would have to say is that this move is an A wave or a wave 1. This would be a B and a C. Now this, I've labeled this as ABC because this applies to both of the counts we're going to be discussing. Now if this is A, B and C and we fail to take this high over here, this would make it more likely that we're going to see a continuation to the downside one more time. Now if we do see something like that, the thing is, if we lose this low, it would make it pretty hard to look at this as an impulse anymore. Effectively we would have to potentially argue this is in a bigger W, X and a Y if we want to look at it in that way. But really, if we lose this lower zone here of this 28,701, then it would be invalidated. So there is still potential here that we could argue that we have something like this as a W, an X, and then we're looking for a Y wave down, but it starts to become very untidy if we're looking at it like that. And yeah, I mean, if we start to break down in that way, we need to just be careful of the more bearish scenario, which we're going to go over here. So there is bullish potential, but really I don't want to see these lows getting taken out. And the invalidation of this idea of a 1212 would be this 28,701. If we do start to see price looking to break to the upside here, what I would be looking for in the immediate term here is to see price looking to hold this low over here, seeing this as a 1 and a 2, potentially getting something like another 1, 2 here, and then looking to push towards this zone of this 29,699 for this wave 3. Now, if we do start to see something like this, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, we also need to still be careful here, because within the bearish count, this could still just be part of a corrective move, which we'll go over in a second. Now, if we do see something along these lines, like I said to you, I want to see this hit at least this 29,856. Anything less than this would make it more likely that this move here is actually going to look to break down afterwards, and we could be looking for another low to come into place here. Now, if we are looking at this whole structure again from further back, and we're talking about the different corrective ways we can look at this, what we could say is that this whole move from further back here would effectively be WXYXZ. So this would align with the idea of the wave 2, where we have this is W, this is X, this is Y, this is X, and then we're looking for a 3-wave move down in a Z wave. Now, if we are looking for this idea to play out, the target I would be looking for currently would be this 1-to-1 here at this 28,578, which would be interesting because it would be looking to challenge these lows that we have over here. And then as well as that, if we do look to extend a little bit, the 1.236 and the 1-to-1 between that level is a common zone for this Z wave. Now, if we are looking at something like this, what I would be looking for is either we can count this move down as W, X, and Y, or alternatively, we can actually count this as a diagonal where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if this is a diagonal pattern like this, what we'd be expecting is 3 waves up and then a continuation to the downside. So within this idea, as long as we stay below this invalidation point here, which would be sitting at this zone of this 30,244, we need to be respectful that any kind of a 3-wave move back up into this white target box could actually line up with that idea of continuing to reject to the downside in 5 waves. So we have actually come up high enough here already within this move that this could actually just be a really short B wave here, and we could look to push directly down. So if we do look to push directly down in another 5-wave move where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, what we could then see is the move down towards this 1-to-1 level here. Now, if we do see a move down towards this 1-to-1 level, this wouldn't align with the lower target here, but potentially we could see a little bit of an extension here, looking to target out this 28,578. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. The thing is, because of how corrective and choppy this area is, we need to just be careful, because like I said, there is a couple of ways we can look at the structure. So within this idea here, what we'd be looking for would be a 3-wave move to the downside. If we do get a 3-wave move down like this, though, we need to still be careful that we don't have something like a bigger flat correction forming here, which we're going to go over in a second. So if we do see this move complete to the downside, and it is WXYXZ, and we're looking for that idea of this being a Z wave as a wave 2, then we'd be expecting price to look to break to the upside afterwards. So we'd have to monitor it if we do move down to these levels to see how we react. Now, the other way we were discussing it is that we could say that this whole move here is an A wave, and we're looking at this potentially as a B wave to the upside. Now, this B wave could potentially be completed where it is, and we could look to break down for the C wave. So this is why we need to be careful of this idea that if we do get a 5-wave move down here, what we could see is a move down towards this 1-to-1 level at this 27,771. Now, if we do see something like this, what we'd be expecting is to see this price stay below this high and starting to hit some impulsive triggers to the downside, but we could also still be within this B wave. So the most common rejection area here for a B wave is this 786 to this 50%. We have come up into this already, but there is still potential that we could look to challenge the top of this channel. Now, if we are going to look at something like that, there's 2 ways that I'm looking at it. So either what we could see is that this move develops as a bigger A, we get 3 waves down for a B, and then we get a C wave to the upside. So this would be looking at it as a flat. So within this idea of this Z wave, if we do see this as A, B, and C to the downside, what we need to be careful here is that within this count, what this would be saying is we get, this is a 3-wave move, we get 3-wave move down, and then we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is normally how we start a trending move, but within a flat correction, what we get is the potential that we get this 3, 3, 5 to the upside here, and then we actually break back down and take this low, and that would confirm the idea of a flat. So if we do see 3 waves to the downside and we look to push into this 28,861 to this 28,350 level, we could still just see this as 3 waves here, and then we start to see 5 waves to the upside. Failure to break above this 30,798 to this 30,252 could also then align with the idea that this is just that connector wave, and then we look to break to the downside after that point for that C wave, where we would be looking for this B wave to effectively be over here then, and then we'd be looking for a push down towards this zone of this 27,771 level. So going to be keeping an eye on that if we do look to push down and then to the upside. Now we could also argue within this WXY pattern here that we could have this as W, this could be X, and we could still have this as A, B, and C. So if we do form this as 5, 3, and 5, we need to be careful of this idea here that this whole structure could still be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get a push up here towards this zone of this 1 to 1 or this 0.854, which would be here at this 30,433 to this 30,667. Other areas of interest here would be in relation to this W wave over here, which is these white fib levels, which I would be looking out for this potential of coming back up here towards this 1382 to this 1236. If we do look to push up higher here, I wouldn't like to see this go much higher than this 1618, sitting at this 30,632, though a move up to the 1618 would make quite a lot of sense as looking to sweep some of these highs over here. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this, that if we do continue to hold these lows here, we could potentially start to develop an impulse to the upside, looking to target out these areas, but it's too early to actually say for that. If we are looking at this structure slightly different, once again, like I said, we have that possibility within our higher degree count here that we could be looking for a C wave to the downside. Now this C wave could potentially be looking to target out this level here of this 25,360 to this 23,646. The key thing within this idea is we'd have to see a move past this 1.618 level. So we need to be careful of this idea that we could still see its bigger breakdown here. Within that idea here, what we'd be saying is that this move to the downside could potentially be looking to form as an impulse. Now, if we are looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 into this low here, we could have this as our B wave already completed. So if we start to form 5-wave structure to the downside, what we could be looking to do is actually move down towards this 27,180 level, in which case this could just be a bigger A, B, and a C, but rather just starting from this point here. Any kind of a move above 31,804 would invalidate this idea. Once again, within this idea, it is also possible that this B wave is incomplete. Now, we need to be just respectful that if we are looking at this move as completing into this low, what we could have is that this could actually just be a 3-wave move as a zigzag here. And then we look at this potentially as a connector wave. Now, if this is a connector wave, what we could be looking for is another 3-wave structure to the upside here, looking to push us up into this zone of this 30,790 to this 1618 level here of this 31,882. If this is a W, X, and a Y, I wouldn't like to see this push above this 31,882. Otherwise, it becomes more likely then that effectively what we have here is that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we're going to be looking for that bigger 5-wave structure to the upside. Now, if we are looking at something like this, it's possible that this X wave is already completed here, but it is also possible that this could drag out and we see something like a bigger 3-wave move looking to play out in this area and just drag out and just move sideways here, being quite choppy. If we do see something like this, this could then mean that we still have this as a bigger corrective move looking to push up. The key invalidation here would be this 31,804, and what we'd be expecting is a rejection in this zone here of this 786 to this 50%. So if we do see this as a bigger W, X, and a Y, we can see how this would align with that idea of actually coming back up here towards the 702, and if this extends a little bit higher here, the 786 would also be in this zone. Now, another area of interest for me within this idea here would be coming back into this golden pocket area, which would be sitting at this 30,638 to this 30,534, and that would be looking to potentially look to sweep this level once again. So Gonna have to keep an eye on this. You know, there are a lot of different counts here. We need to see how the market actually responds to these levels, and that'll give us more of an indication whether we're actually going to see this looking to push to the upside or the downside. Now, within this idea of a C wave, we need to be careful, because as long as we actually fail to take this high here of this 30,244, we do have potential here that this whole move could already be looking to break to the downside. Now, within this idea here, what we'd be saying is that this whole move here could be a wave one. And as long as we fail to take this 30,244, what we could see is that this move here could either form as A, B, C, and we push up here towards this zone of the 786 to this 50%. And then we look for a break to the downside. Now, if we do see this idea where either this is W, we get X and Y, or alternatively, we get something like this as an A, B, and a C directly pushing to the upside, what I'll then be looking for is that potential of price either moving down towards this one-to-one. So that one-to-one idea would fit into the idea of this extending, where this could become A, B, and we get C. Or alternatively, within this idea, what we'd be saying is that price is going to break down more violently after getting a rejection in this level. Now, what we'd say here is that we'd be looking for 5 waves down, 3 waves up, and then another 5 wave down. If this 5 wave move to the downside crosses this $28,000, this would then align with the idea of this extending out, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then what we could see is price could look to finish somewhere in this zone of this 27,839 to this 27,587 if we don't get extension within the wave. So this is why it's so hard at the moment here. You know, it really can go either way. There is a bullish count here, but it needs to prove itself. Otherwise, it starts to become more likely, as long as we fail to take these highs, that we could be looking for something like this as a direct sell-off. But and even if we do sweep these highs, this is what makes it so complicated here, is that if we are looking at this as either W, X, and Y, where we're going to see this as potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get 3 waves down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This could still be corrective. If we get another 5 wave move up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then this whole structure here could just be A, B, and C. So it's going to be important what happens after this move here. We are continuing to hold these higher support zones. What we want to see is continuation of that. We want to start to see 5-wave structure up, holding this low, and then looking to step back to the upside. Now, ideally, what I'd like to see for more clarity here of something that is looking more bullish is I'd like to see price step through this level. So getting something like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, challenging a higher zone here, getting a retracement back into this zone, and then looking for that continuation up if we're going to look at that as a bullish count. If, however, we start to fail to hold this zone here, what we could see is price could start to fall away from this level and look to break to the downside. Coming in here and having a look at the daily CPR lines, all we can see is that our central lines are quite tightly spread here. Now, we are currently fighting with these levels, and if we do maintain this level of this 29,424 to this 29,396, what we could see is price could be pushing back to the upside here, looking to target out this 29,716. Now, this would align with the idea of this becoming just A, B, and C, and then we'd have to see what happens from that point. If, however, we start to see price reacting more powerfully to the upside, what we could see is a push towards this 29,999. We have this 30,317 and this 30,593 as possible upside targets for today. Now, if we do look to break down, we have a potential to find support here on this level of this 29,124. If we fail to hold this zone, then other areas of interest for me for today would be this 28,815. 28,535 and this 28,222 as a potential downside target for today. Now, moving over and having a look at the weekly CPR lines, what we can see is that we're currently within our weekly CPR lines. If we start to lose this level here, what we could then see is price could actually be gravitated down towards one of these lower zones, 28,586, 27,877 and this 27,048. If, however, price starts to react to the upside here and we continue to hold this and we start to flip these into support and we look to push away from this zone, targets to the upside for this week could be this 30,132. We have this 30,957 and this 31,675 as potential upside targets. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on these zones if we do look to interact with them. Now, we are still currently underneath our monthly CPR lines now, and we did see a rejection off this level here. So this is not a good sign so far, but we are still holding support here. If we start to see price pushing back to the upside, what I'd like to see is these starting to turn into support. So this 29,599, we have this 29,969, and this 30,320. If we do look to push above these levels, then for this month, we still have open targets to the upside of this 31,065. We have this 32,916 and this 34K as potential targets. Now, if we have a look at the downside targets, so if we look to continue to reject to the downside, I will be keeping an eye on this 28,127 level because this would align quite nicely with coming back into this channel where we got lower down here. Alternatively, if we do look to push down deeper than that, other targets that we have here is this 27,015 and this 25,138 as potential downside targets for this month. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Also in the description, you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out. It's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We will see you in the next one. Take care.